Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Elev8 Project Podcast. This is episode number 4, and we're going to be talking about time, creating enough time to create content. So during the pandemic, it was a really good opportunity for me because just like many of you, working from home, if you're used to working to the office and being stuck at home, there's a lot of extra time that was created because you didn't have to be in traffic. You didn't have to commute into work. Or maybe, depending on what you're doing, the time period that you have to get ready for work is now allocated for something else. And I'll be honest, during the pandemic, I was that guy. I'd go on Zoom calls, I'd wear like a nice dress shirt, and probably have pajamas on the bottoms. And now it's kind of like a norm. I just wear a t-shirt. I'm literally wearing jogging pants or jeans or some sort of casual wear. And I do want to give myself some sort of feeling that I'm working. So I will dress up occasionally, depending on what meetings are happening that day, if I'm going to be on video or if I'm not going to be on video. So the big question here, the big topic is creating time to create content, YouTube videos, podcasts, etc. And that is precious time that is used as an investment to build whatever you're building, whatever you're creating. And during the pandemic, when I decided I wanted to start a YouTube channel, that is one of the main things that I was thinking about. What else do I want to do to market or enhance my social media? Because when you think about YouTube and how everything is tied together, there's not just YouTube. There's Instagram, there's TikTok. I'm doing podcasts right now. There's other social media platforms that kind of make sense to go together. And when I decided to do YouTube and I thought about all those social media platforms, I knew that I needed to focus. I needed to focus on one thing, and I only had enough time that I was willing to allocate. So number one, when you're thinking about creating time or how do I find time to create content, is this: you own your time. So I had to audit what I was doing during my day. So I'm going to share with you what my day kind of looks like, especially during the pandemic, is I had extra time in the morning. So I decided to do a couple things. One, before I started YouTube, I decided to take that extra time and start running. So I started running in the mornings. I woke up super early, 4:35. I have 2 kids. They wake up early and go to school. My wife is working at home as well. So I want to have my own uninterrupted time. And I knew I couldn't do that during the day. And it would be difficult to do that in the evening. So I started doing these runs, 5:30 in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. And I ended up training for a half marathon. So I even got into these long runs that were up to an hour long, hour and a half long. And so I started running maybe even at 4:30, not 4:30 actually, that was probably too early, but 5 o'clock in the morning was kind of the earliest that I would run. And I needed to be back home by 6:30. Why 6:30? Take a shower, wake up the kids, make breakfast, make lunches, drive the kids to school, and then I would start working from 9 o'clock on, and then pick up the kids, or my wife would pick up the kids, and then of course we wanted to finish our workday and then spend actual time with our kids, our neighbors, our friends, even Zoom calls with family just because of the pandemic. And so that became the routine. And I ended up starting YouTube at the tail end of my half marathon journey. So once I finished my half marathon, I had this extra time. So audit your time. Do you have extra time? And even if you're not a morning person, and maybe you're not in the same situation as me, where I do have family, I do have kids, obviously my life would be a little bit different and my time management would be different if I was single or if I was just married with no kids. The real understanding here is owning your time. It's not about I don't have enough time. It's how you make time. And it was different for me, obviously. If I wasn't doing those morning runs, maybe I would have been in a situation where I would be doing a lot of evening content creation versus the morning. Now, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't do evening content creation, because I definitely have. And that usually is in place if I know my wife is working late and the kids are asleep. It's very important for us that we are at least present when the kids are home. We want to ensure that we have a great foundation for our kids, that great family foundation as well. Mother, father, they're always there. Extracurriculars, that's the other thing as well. Putting the kids in extracurriculars also puts us in a position, and put me in a position where content creation is, hey, how long does this need to take? How will I finish? Etc. So making time, when you know and you have that mindset that you own your time, I really learn to do my plan management using time blocking. And time blocking makes it really easy for me to allocate a certain amount of time to finish something. And I think it's very important, especially working from home, to take 15 minutes in an hour block to stand up, walk around, because if you're sitting in one spot for 8 hours a day, one, it's unhealthy. It will grow to other aspects of your life, like weight, etc. And it's really just going to be uncomfortable. And also brain fog. You won't be able to get I believe, the optimum amount of performance that you can get when you get the blood flowing, you're resting your mind, you're giving it a break, and then going at another topic or subject to work on. So my time blocking is really important, and I'll allocate a certain amount of time. And when you're planning ahead, especially when we're talking about creating time for content creation, because if you're in the same position as me, you have a lot of different things on your plate that you need to manage. Your regular full-time job, kids, extracurricular activities, date night with the wife, family time, all these different things come into play. One of the things that's really helped me is artificial deadlines or creating deadlines to complete something. For instance, with content creation, I could book 2 days, one day for podcast and another day for creating a YouTube video. And if I create that deadline of the whole day, it'll probably take me the whole day. I'll think about, okay, I need to get ready, get myself freshened up. I may not take the time to really be more efficient knowing that I have the whole day. Now, if I take that same scenario and I make an artificial deadline for 2 hours, 1 hour to work on the podcast and 1 hour to work on a YouTube video. In most scenarios, with time blocking and I have everything set up for the day, I will only have that much time, so I become a little bit more efficient. I have everything ready. I maybe even pre-planned for the night before. So when I come to my office, let's say 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm good to go. I press record, do some edits, and I'm done. And then I'm moving on to the next thing. So be careful with your artificial deadlines to ensure what you want to complete. Even though I'm doing 1 to 2 videos, YouTube videos a week, and I'm doing right now 1 episode of a podcast every week. Those are 3 pieces of content that I can technically do in one day. If I really wanted to, if I think about it and I pre-plan, I know the topics that I'm going to be talking about, and I can do a podcast and record some videos. And before that, I can set up different days where I'm planning scripts, I'm looking at background, I'm looking at cameras, am I charging everything, editing, what are those things? So I try not to do everything in the sense of one day. If I give myself 2 hours and I have some extra time, that's a different story, because I have done that. I would plan, okay, I'm going to do YouTube video. I got the scripting done, let's say 2 days beforehand. I had a busy day the next day. And then this day, I kind of just really planned 2 hours. And because everything was set up for success, I would record the video, plug it in my computer, download it, make sure everything's all good, that it actually recorded. I've made that mistake before. Well, I thought something was recording, and then I find out when I get that memory card that it's not. Not the greatest feeling at all. And then, because I've been so efficient up to that point, I'll open Final Cut Pro, start plugging in all my content, and I look at the time, like, okay, I'll spend about 30 to 40 minutes. And lo and behold, I'm like 90% done. So then I'll do my regular work, and maybe I'll jump in at lunchtime or maybe 30 minutes before I pick up the kids. And then that is done. I'll let it export. And by the time I come home, all I need to do is upload it to YouTube. I'll schedule it, and I'll set and optimize that video with the thumbnail and the title, the description, any links that need to be prepared, and all that. And typically that will happen. Not necessarily ideal, because I like to have things set up a certain way. Because of those artificial deadlines, I can get a lot more done. Or it can work against you if you start building those artificial deadlines that are too long, and you know you can get that done. So you really kind of have to know your own time and what you want to get accomplished. And for me, I try to make it a habit now. So I will have a pretty set morning routine from Monday to Friday. Saturday and Sunday, I try to give myself some flexibility, catch up on any sleep, and plan those days with minimal technology as possible, and really enjoy my time with the family. And that could be with visiting our friends and their kids, planning lunch dates, and now, because we're getting into that time, making sure that they can go to their birthday parties, and of course competitions for things like dance, martial arts, etc. that my kids typically will go to on the weekends. So I'm pretty flexible and not too stringent when it comes to my content creation process on the weekends. Monday to Friday, though, I definitely do. And my morning routine typically will start with some sort of daily planner. So I write things a certain way. I'll write down my goals. I'll find a quote of the day. And I read this book. I forget what the book was. I believe it was like the 5 a.m. mornings or something like that. It was a book that I read. But one big thing that I took out of that book from a morning routine was this acronym SAVERS. S standing for silence, giving yourself some time just to yourself, almost like a meditation. And I try to give myself 2 to 3 minutes. I know that doesn't sound like long. It makes a difference when it's intentional. It's different if you're daydreaming. But when you see silence and you give yourself 2 to 3 minutes of intentional silence, it makes a difference. A stands for affirmations. And believe it or not, I'll do that. I am this. And when I set my goals, I will do this. V is visualization. A great exercise to just sit back, close your eyes, and visualize what you want to be done for the day. E is exercise. So I try to get 20 minutes minimum of some sort of exercise a day. Typically, that will be 25 minutes in a walking pace on the treadmill, some sort of 20 to 30 minutes, a CrossFit circuit or a weight circuit. We have some free weights in the garage that I'll usually do. Or at least within the day, plan for exercise, even if it's just a walk around the block during my lunchtime, because I am still working from home. And also, looking at R is read. And this is a little bit different because while I'm walking or I'm doing some sort of exercise, I'll listen to audiobooks. And I feel that helps me. It's not the same as reading. I'll put that in as the reading block. And again, 20 to 30 minutes of just reading. And the last S is scribe. And because I'm journaling, that is my scribe period, where I'm just taking notes, planting my thoughts, planning out my day. And one thing that's really helped me is I'll put a section in my daily planner, which is a to-do list. And that's kind of counterintuitive because I'll write things that I want to get done for the day within my time blocking. So what I've done instead in this to-do list, I'll write down the 3 main things that I want to accomplish that day. And then I'm going to prioritize those top 3 things. And my goal, if anything, is to accomplish at least that number 1 priority to be completed for that day. And I'll be honest, it is tough at first to own your day. I know that sounds weird because if you own your time, you would think it's quite easy. And instead of saying, oh man, I don't have time to work out, I own my time and just force myself to take action, depending in the situation that I'm in. Like when I was training for that half marathon, I had a purpose. So it's also that reminder when I'm writing my goals, what is my purpose? What's my why? What do I want to accomplish overall within that time period of my life? And so that to-do list, depending if it's YouTube or that artificial deadline, because when it comes to consistency, quality, and quantity, I want to ensure that I'm producing at least 1 YouTube video a week and 1 episode of a podcast per week. And before that, it was just the 1 video. So it took me a long time to really figure out my flow, to really step up and create more content, because it did end up becoming a lot easier to create content where I started batching videos. And I don't want to batch videos too far ahead because I think I want to leave room for any trending topics that might be happening or some ideas that I'm really excited and passionate about. I want to be able to shoot a video right there and then or plan for that. And I've done that multiple times. If you take a look at my YouTube page where I've created pieces of content that I would make because I was passionate and curious about it. And then these other videos were roughly the same because I recorded them the same day. And even now, looking at how much time I need to take to, for instance, script a video, plan a video, record a video. The podcast is a little bit different because this gives me an open channel. I'm giving you that behind the scenes. It's not as scripted. I just really have some points that I want to hit. And that makes it a lot easier. For me, I can talk for hours on like the simplest things. And I'm really passionate and curious about the whole YouTube journey and what I've been doing. And we haven't even talked about gear yet. And I think it's so important for this subject of creating time. It's easy to say, oh, I'm too tired. I can do it tomorrow, and just putting it aside. And what happens when you start doing this consistently over a long period of time is it becomes a habit. So Monday will roll around. I'm like, okay, perfect. Today is when that video is being launched. Today, I'm going to be doing some back end type things. I got my quote of the day, and I have this habit now of tweeting my quote of the day, adding it to my Instagram, because it's only now that I'm starting to try to build those platforms to support and help my YouTube channel, which I believe is great content to help and serve people. And so I'm trying to build those and being consistent. I'm still working the content that is more native to that platform versus just creating content and just republishing it on different platforms. So I'm working on that. Once it's a habit, that is what becomes really powerful, because then it's just almost, you don't even need to think about it. You just do, you just go. I'm at the point where I'm a week ahead of schedule. I want to be at a good place where I'm always 2 weeks ahead of schedule. Life happens. And when I go on vacation, I don't necessarily want to be working on content creation just because I have a week off of vacation from work. I want to be completely off so I can spend that time. And I've said this many times over and over again. My big why with this whole YouTube creation and working from home, my full-time job, all those type of things, is to help me build a life that I can design and spend more time with my family. Hopefully, as if you follow my journey, one of these things can really be the ultimate design of life, or my life, where I can do those things. I don't have to think about it. If my child needs at her school volunteer work, make cookies, I would love to do that. Haunted house, for instance, this year, being a volunteer, to be able to be there, because there's going to be a time where my kids won't want to hang out with me anymore, and I know that. So this is the real time where I'm feeling, as things build, these investments, as long as it's aligned with my why, and that I'm continue to create content that helps and serves people, and I'm doing it from a point of view of, this is what I've done, this is what I've found success, and I hope that this helps you. At the end of the day, audit your time. Figure out what you're doing. Are you watching movies all day? Are you playing video games all day? Allocate some times accordingly so you have time set aside for content creation. Plan ahead. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week. Even this podcast. And by the way, if you want to see the video version of this podcast, I do have a Patreon page that I started as well to help support my YouTube channel, help support the podcast. It's at patreon.com/Elev8 Project, ELEV8 Project. If you found value in this podcast today, give this show a 5-star rating on Apple Music, if that, or Spotify, whatever podcast platform that you're listening to. Leave a comment. It's always appreciated. It really helps boost this podcast and serve more people. As always, be safe, stay awesome, and I'll catch you in the next one.